Waboo, everybody. That's Waboo. Top of the day. Top of the day. Left my water bottle. I need to grab this. That's Waboo. Yaya. Tiffany. Hey, girl. Hey. All right, y'all. We started 2 Kings today. Yeah, I believe it. We're almost at the end of the month. I'm making my notes. All right. Tara, hey girl, hey. All right, y'all. So small little update. You know, I'm keeping up with stuff. So, looking around. I mean, y'all probably seen this already, but they're recalling nurses, anybody in the medical field whose license has expired. We know that they also have suspended all regulations across all the state lines, meaning that you can practice anywhere in the United States to help with COVID-19 or whatever. If they need help or you want to volunteer, go to different places, they suspended all that stuff. So say you were only licensed in Virginia. Now, at this time, you're licensed in Texas, from Washington State all the way to Texas, Maine, North Dakota, South Dakota, all the states in the United States, you are now authorized to operate or to practice within all those states because of the pandemic. Also, they are recalling, like I just said, they are recalling nurses and any medical workers that have had licenses that have expired. They have the renewal license application up for all medical workers who would like to rejoin the field, and they're pretty much saying they're going to approve you, they're going to renew your license. So if you stop practicing, and I don't know, I didn't actually read it in detail, so I'm not sure if there's a time limit from, I don't know, like if you was practicing in 1960, you probably too old to practice now, but say you stopped practicing in like 2005, and you wanted to, you know, renew your license or whatever so you can help out with the pandemic at the hospitals or wherever needed. Just fill out the application and they pretty much saying we're going to approve you. You know, I'm hoping there's some kind of guideline where they just not approving you left and right, because like if it was like Dr. Kevorkian and stuff, like people don't know that we want you to get your medical license renewed because we don't know. So hopefully I'm sure they and then again, I don't know. They say, but I don't know. So hopefully, if you want to help out, if you have ethics, hopefully those who have ethics, you know, it's just them. But I don't know. I don't know what you think ethics are. Your ethics may be different from mine, you know. But as long as you're not in the field to hurt people, but there to help, I'm sure, you know, you'll get renewed. If you had a good, clean record during the time that you practiced, I don't know. I don't know how all that works because I'm not in the medical field. But anyway, that's update. That's what they're doing. Also, we found out that they also here now in Virginia, they are giving the medical workers letters so that they can verify that they are medical workers and that they are essential personnel so that they can be out. That says a little bit more to me. Maybe we're on that list next to be quarantined, to mandatory self-quarantine. So but even some of the nurses are concerned, like, does somebody know more than what we know? Yeah. So they are all getting letters, a lot of them, based on a nurse that I know, an update yesterday. So Yep, and they're told to keep them in their vehicles, to keep those letters that they're being issued from their hospital, whatever medical facility, medical board, wherever they're at, keep those in their vehicle at all times just in case they get pulled over so that they can actually verify that they are essential personnel, because if you're essential personnel, leave out your house, go to work, go home, so. All right, y'all, that being said, I gotta get my bottle of water right here. I ain't gonna run upstairs and get my big one. I'm gonna just grab one of these right here. They're about to open my job back up. Oh, okay. You got a lot of medical parents that work at your daycare? I'm sorry. They use your daycare, Tara? Or maybe the daycare you work at volunteered to take on medical workers' children. Okay. But anyway, I don't know what the governor of Virginia gonna say today, but normally he's been coming on with his entourage of staff at 11 daily, but Friday he said they were gonna only accept me. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, so everybody, yeah. Because the military and medical are essential personnel. I mean, I guess that's a good thing for daycare workers and stuff, those who still want to get paid, but sheesh, I don't know. I feel some type of way about that for real. I mean, but I get it. Who else? But I know the medical staff that it's not safe to bring their children to the hospital. Because one time I thought maybe they should set something up at the hospital where their children could just come there, but they don't have the room for that. And I don't think that would be safe because of all the sick people that's coming in, especially if they're coming in there with the virus or whatever. The children the daycare facility, wherever, it eventually will be exposed to it. Unless there is a facility, like not at the hospital, but right across from it or something like that where the children would be. But I don't know. But they're kind of like out there first line of defense, so it's still like daycare workers are those out there. They're still being put in harm's way as well because of the children who are going back home to their parents daily, who have been on the front lines, who have possibly been exposed, so that's the kind of scary thing right there. So I'm praying for all those who are essential personnel to the essential personnel so that they can be out there on the front lines, y'all. So it's scary, it's crazy, but I hope the daycares are doing everything they absolutely can to make sure that all the children and stuff that come in, even from the parents, I know there should be some type of sanitary regimen that happens in the morning or something when the children come in. I don't know. I don't sanitize everybody who comes in there through the doors. Maybe set them off to the side about 15, 20 minutes. I mean, I don't know. Sanitize them. I don't know. That's probably what I would do. But, hopefully all daycares will be practicing the highest forms of sanitation with people and the whole place daily. All right, y'all. All right, so it is Monday, March 23rd, 2020, day 104, and we are reading the last chapter in the book of 1 Kings, which is 1 Kings chapter 22, and then we'll start on 2 Kings 1 and 2. All right, y'all, so I'm here to do this today. Chapter 22 is pretty long. It is 53 verses, y'all, so it'll take me just a few minutes to get through. And they continued 3 years without war between Syria and Israel. And it came to pass in the 3rd year that Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, came down to the king of Israel. And the king of Israel said unto his servants, Know ye that Ramoth and Gilead is ours, and we be still, and take not out of the hand of the king of Syria? And he said unto Jehoshaphat, Wilt thou go with me to battle with Ramoth Gilead? And Jehoshaphat said to the king of Israel, I am as thou art, my people as thy people, my horses as thy horses. And Jehoshaphat said unto the king of Israel, Inquire, I pray thee, at the word of Yahuah today. Then the king of Israel gathered the prophets together, about 400 men, and said unto them, Shall I go against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall I forbear? And they said, Go up, for Yahuah shall deliver it into the hand of the king. And Jehoshaphat said, Is there not here a prophet of Yahuah besides, that we might inquire of him? So clearly he knew that the whole band of prophets, it's still the same thing today. You still got a whole band of prophets who call themselves prophets of Yah. And they're giving you all these prophecies. And so sometimes I just look and I'll watch. And I'm like, how many of these prophets are truly hearing from Yah? I said, because all the prophets ain't right. Everybody giving, you got a main group of prophets that are prophesying the same thing. But a lot of times it's always the feel-good prophecies and stuff. I'm like, which of these prophets are truly telling the truth? I mean, it's easy for me to tell. You got a whole group of prophets that, the Lord said this is going to happen. And you do this and you do that. I'm sitting here the whole time and they make me want to spit on the ground. I'm like, none of you are hearing. None of you are hearing at all. And everybody just, they just like they truly getting a word from Yah. I say, no. Yahuah is telling all of you to repent, including your lying prophets. So I'm just sitting here. So I just, I was like, time is going to tell who's really telling the truth here. Because at this time, y'all don't hear Yah saying nothing else but repent. It's always been the same. It's always been the same thing, because Yahuah's people have always been acting a goddamn fool all the way through, even through here. It never, the prophets of Yah, that's why the prophets of Yah, they chase them, they want to kill them, because don't nobody want to hear repent and return to Yah's command so that you may be blessed. No, you do this, you be blessed this way, you be blessed this way, and go do this and put this in the pot, and if you go do this and touch this person 3 times, and y'all know that foolishness or whatever. I'm sitting here just like, I was like, Father, I'm glad every single solitary church is shut down. So now maybe the people, they ain't got to hear all the garbage, except for the ones that still tuning into the stuff. And hopefully some of the prophets, and I'm not going to say they not prophets of Yah, they just on the wrong road right now. They giving the people feel-good prophecies and false prophecies and stuff, where it's like, I know you ain't seeing, and you doing what? That prophet told you what now? He called, really? Okay, you go with that. And this is essentially what this prophet gonna do. He said, and the king knew. He said, all gather all the prophets. Okay, tell me, should I go up to battle? And all 400 some prophets, they say, yes, go up. And he looked around. Even the king knew. He said, listen, is there not a prophet of Yah here also? He said, are there any prophets of Yah here? And those who are not paying attention, like, you just have 400 and something of his prophets, and they gave you the prophecy. Even the king knew, they're going to get me killed for sure. Is there not a prophet of Yah here? And they're normally singled out. It's not very many of them, and you never really see them out there for real. They normally calling for them because all of the major prophets and the front side prophets, they know that they're a mess out there. They know it. Even though they put on a good show and stuff, it's like, I'm like, Father, first and foremost, I'm glad that all the churches have shut down. Now maybe your people can hear you and hear you alone. So okay, I'm going to go back to reading. But essentially, this is what's about to happen right here. And Jehoshaphat said, is there not here a prophet of Yahuah besides these, that we might inquire of him? And the king said unto Jehoshaphat, there is yet one man, Micah the son of Imlah, by whom we may inquire of Yahuah, but I hate him, for he doth not prophesy good concerning me, but evil. And Jehoshaphat said, let not the king say so. Then the king of Israel called an officer and said, hasten hither Micaiah the son of Imlah. And the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat the king of Judah sat each on his throne, having put on their robes, in a void place in the entrance of the gate of Samaria, and all the prophets prophesied before them. And Zedekiah the son of Chenana, made him horns of iron, and he said, Thus saith Yahuah, with these shalt thou push the Syrians until thou have consumed them. And all the prophets prophesied so, saying, Go up to Ramoth Gilead and prosper, for Yahuah shall deliver it into the king's hand. And the messenger that was gone to call Micaiah spake unto him, saying, Behold, now the words of the prophets declare good unto the king with one mouth. Let thy word, I pray thee, be like the word of one of them, and speak that which is good. And Micaiah said, As Yahuah liveth, that Yahuah saith unto me, that will I speak. So he came to the king, and the king said unto him, Micaiah, shall we go up against Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall we forbear? And he answered him, Go and prosper. Yahuah shall deliver it into the hand of the king. And notice he said that sarcastically, and the king picked it up. He said, And the king said unto him, How many times shall I adjure thee that thou tell me nothing but that which is true in the name of the Lord? So he knew Micaiah, the prophet Micaiah, was lying, because he told him, he said, Listen, the 400-something prophets over here, the prophets, and they call themselves prophets of the Lord, they didn't already told me what was good. He said, Let your word be not different from them. And Micaiah said, Surely I will speak nothing except for what Yahuah gives me. And so he said, Well, prophesy unto me then. Shall we go up? He said, Yeah, go on up. You gonna prosper. And he looked at him and he said, Didn't I tell you? Don't tell me anything but the truth. Now listen. And the king said unto him, How many times shall I adjure thee that thou tell me nothing but that which is true in the name of Yahuah? And he said, I saw all of Israel scattered upon the hills as sheep that have not a shepherd. And Yahuah said, These have no master. Let them return every man to his house in peace. And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, Did I not tell thee that he would prophesy no good concerning me, but evil? So he told him the truth. First he was being sarcastic, because he said, don't tell him anything different. Then he told him the truth. So essentially he said, Y'all go up here. I saw all y'all scattered like a sheep having no master. Everybody need to go home. And he said, Hear thou therefore the word of Yahuah. I saw Yahuah sitting on his throne, and all the hosts of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left. And Yahuah said, Who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And one said on this manner, and another said on this manner. And there came forth a spirit and stood before Yahuah and said, I will persuade him. And Yahuah said unto him, Wherewith? And he said, I will go forth, and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. Now, boom. Now, here's another reason why people should not get caught up on prophets and prophecies and anything that prophets say out of their mouth. Like, they can hear Yah just as good as the prophets can. But sometimes when they're not listening, that's when Yah sends the prophets, when the people are not listening. He said, listen. Yahuah gave him a vision, and he saw all the hosts of heaven standing before him. And Yahuah, they were having a council meeting, and he said, listen, who can I send up to persuade Ahab? This is what's going on now, because he's trying to decide if he should go up and battle or should his men go home. He said, go home, but he really didn't want to listen. So Micaiah is telling him the vision that Yahuah showed him about what's about to happen to them if he doesn't listen and go home. Oh, and another thing I want to bring out, Yahuah a lot of times allows prophets to lie because the people's hearts are already hardened and their ears are plugged up and they don't want to hear anyway. They want to hear sweet and good sounding things. So Yahuah said, all right, go be lying spirits in the mouths of the prophets, because they don't want to listen. Head on to your death. Head on to the turmoil that you want to head to anyway. You didn't want to listen? Okay, you want to listen to the word of a prophet? Be a spirit of lying in the mouth of the prophets. And a lot of people don't realize that. Oh, y'all wouldn't this and that. You don't know him too well, do you? You really don't know him too well, and you don't pay attention. And there came forth a spirit and stood before Yahuah and said, I will persuade him. And Yahuah said unto him, Wherewith? And he said, I will go forth, and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of his prophets. And he said, Thou shalt persuade him and prevail. Go forth and do so. Yahuah gave him authorization, said, Go, do it. Be a spirit of lying in the mouths of all the 400 and something prophets. Now therefore, behold, Yahuah hath put a lying spirit in the mouth of all thy prophets, and Yahuah hath spoken evil concerning thee. But Zedekiah the son of Chenaanah went near and smote Micaiah on the cheek, and said, Which way went the spirit of Yahuah from me to speak unto thee? And Micaiah said, Behold, thou shalt see in a day, when thou shalt go into an inner chamber to hide thyself. And the king of Israel said, Take Micaiah and carry him back to Ammon, the governor of the city of Joash, the king's son, and say, Thus said the king, Put this fellow in prison, and feed him with bread of affliction and with water of affliction, until I come in peace. And Micaiah said, If thou return at all in peace, O Yahuah hath not spoken by me. And he said, Hearken, O people, every one of you. So the king of Israel and Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah, went up to Ramoth Gilead. And the king of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, I will disguise myself and enter into the battle, but put thou on my robes. And the king of Israel disguised himself and went into the battle. Now y'all had to know that he knew that the prophet was telling the truth. He said, I'm going to go into it. I ain't going to die. I'll see you tomorrow, bro. He said, if you see me tomorrow, you would know that I am lying. But he already knew. You ain't gonna see him. And the king knew that. That's why he disguised himself. You know, people ain't stupid. But the king of Syria commanded his 32 captains that they had rule over his chariot, saying, Fight neither with the small nor the great, save only the king of Israel. And it came to pass, when the captains of the chariots saw Jehoshaphat, they said, Surely it is the king of Israel. And they turned aside to fight against him, and Jehoshaphat cried out. And it came to pass, when the captains of the chariots perceived that it was not the king of Israel, they turned back from pursuing him. And a certain man drew a bow at a venture, and smote the king of Israel between the joints of his harness. Wherefore he said unto the driver of his chariot, Turn thine hand and carry me out of the host, for I am wounded. And the battle increased that day, and the king was stayed up in his chariot against the Syrians, and died at evening. And the blood ran out of the wound into the midst of the chariot. And there went a proclamation through the host about the going down of the sun, saying, Every man to his city, and every man to his own country. So the king died, and was brought to Samaria, and they buried the king in Samaria. And one washed the chariot in the pool of Samaria, and the dogs licked up his blood, and they washed his armor according unto the word of Yahuah which he spake. Now the rest of the acts of Ahab, and all that he did, and the ivory house which he made, and all the chronicles of the king, Now the rest of the acts of Ahab, and all that he did, and the ivory house which he made, and all the cities that he built, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the king of Israel? And remember the prophecy that Yahuah gave to Elisha about King Ahab, when he said that his blood was going to be licked up by the dogs, but also the blood of Jezebel, his wife, would be done too, be licked up by the dogs. That's this prophecy right here coming to pass. Hard-headed, bro. Hard-headed. So Ahab slept with his fathers, and Azahiah his son reigned in his stead. And Jehoshaphat the son of Asa began to reign over Judah in the 4th year of Ahab the king of Israel. Jehoshaphat was 35 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 25 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Azubah, the daughter of Shilhi. And he walked in all the ways of Asa his father, and he turned not aside from doing that which was right in the eyes of Yahuah. Nevertheless, the high places were not taken away, for the people offered and burnt incense yet in the high places. And Jehoshaphat made peace with the king of Israel. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoshaphat, and his might that he showed, how he warred, are they not written in the book of the chronicles of the kings of Judah? And the remnant of the Sodomites which remained in the days of his father Asa, he took out of the land. There was no king in Edom, a deputy was king. Jehoshaphat made ships of Tarshish to go to Ophir for gold, but they went not, for the ships were broken at Ezion-Geber. Then said Azahiah the son of Ahab unto Jehoshaphat, Let my servants go with thy servants in the ships. But Jehoshaphat would not. And Jehoshaphat slept with his fathers, and was buried with his fathers in the city of David his father. And Jehoram his son reigned in his stead. Ahaziah the son of Ahab began to reign over Israel in Samaria the 17th year of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, and reigned 2 years over Israel. And he did evil in the sight of Yahuah, and walked in the way of his father, and the way of his mother, and in the way of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, who made Israel to sin. For he served Baal and worshipped him, and provoked Yahuah to anger, the God of Israel, according to all that his father had done. All right, y'all. 2 Kings chapter 1. All right, chapter 1 and 2, they're pretty short, 18 verses and 25 verses for 2. Then Moab rebelled against Israel after the death of Ahab, and Ahaziah fell down through a lattice in his upper chamber that was in Samaria, and he was sick. And he sent messengers and said unto them, Go inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron, whether I shall recover of this disease. Like, they don't learn. Like, if you don't, like... I like something one of our friends said yesterday. She said, girl, she said, the Old Testament is like a scared straight program. I was like, it surely is. It's not a scared straight, but what it does, what I realized, as you begin to read it, a lot of people spend a lot of time in the New Testament. And what the New Testament does for you does not even comparison. There's no comparison what it does to you and your character when you read through the Old Testament. Like the Old Testament versus New, there's no comparison there, because Yah is from the beginning to the end of the Old Testament, and what it does, it implements character. It reinforces commandments. Not that you just reading stories, but if you're reading it and you like, really, okay, Father, what am I learning from this? And you actually take the commands and you assimilate them into your life. It strengthens you. Betwabu, Trina, Betwabu, it strengthens you. And in your daily life, like ever since last, I was like, man, it grounds you more. Like there's a grounding there. Like I said before, like New Testament is like cliff notes for somebody who didn't study, because it says stuff here that you have no clue has been pulled from back here, and it just kind of sums up what's back here. It's like people going to nursing school. You will not practice for long. You won't even get your license if you study cliff notes. Like you have to know like all the details all the way down to the root cause of a problem and how to get back there. And that's essentially what the Old Testament does for you. It reinforces values, characters, and it keeps you walking a straight and narrow if your heart is to do what's right. Notice I said if your heart is to do what's right. But you got people, they just read for the sake of reading. I read that. I read the Testament every day. Like, you'd have missed the whole big picture. You'd have missed everything because your life still looks like crap. Not saying that you're not trying, because people, you can look at people's lives and look at the fruit of their lives and tell what they're doing in their private life. You truly, truly can. Not saying that people's lives not in turmoil sometimes, but if you watch over a period of time, you will see steadiness. You will see consistency, and you will see some things that normally would have people in an uproar. It keeps them on a solid, straight, and narrow, and they're able to ground themselves a lot more quickly, than other people who are just all over the place. And I see it a lot of time with people that just go to church. You will see them there. And even on Facebook, they prophesying, doing all this other stuff. But it's like, okay. I know some of you personally. Okay. And I keep my comments to myself. Not saying that I'm perfect. I'm absolutely not. But what is that? Like I said, it takes your learning and understanding to like a whole nother level. And it just wisdom begins to flow out of you as you apply and as you think about the stories and what was done and how you would see like some of the kings. It's like, okay, you doing the same thing the last king did. That's how he got killed, and that's how he got thrown off. That's how he could no longer rule. And Yahuah said, if you would just follow and keep my commands, I would secure your house. I would bless and prosper you all, because that's what the commands are designed to do. It's a system that's already set in order. Like Yahuah's not recreating human beings every day. That's a system that he already set in order. He did it once and it reproduces after itself. If you're evil, you're going to reproduce evil. If you're good, you're going to reproduce good. It's a system that's already set in place. And if you're bent in the ways of evil, say if your father or your mother was evil, meaning you come out, you're already bent in the ways of doing evil. Your way is just going to be a little bit harder, because now you have to make a decision. Am I going to walk in the ways of my father? Am I going to continue in the poor eating habits of my mother and my father, what they taught me? Or am I going to strive to do what's right so that I can live life and have an abundant life? So even in my life, I had to strive, not that my parents were horrible or anything, because they weren't. Everybody have their own issues, but I pay attention and I observe. I say, I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want to do that. I mean, I've gotten everything right, but in regards to the health, now, although I've had my issue, y'all heard about my shenanigans yesterday that I shared with y'all. Thought I was going to die, lose my hands and my feet, But what I'm saying is I strive to do what's right, and I thank y'all because my heart is to do what's right. That's why I can hear him a lot clearer. That's why, Father, what is going, that's why I could hear him immediately and say, your blood pressure is high, Now, some of you may say, well, how come he didn't tell you that before you did it? Yeah, he was. Like, Pam, don't eat the soup. And you don't even need the soup. You don't even taste the soup. Don't do it. I heard that, like, I inwardly knew already before I even did it that I shouldn't have done it. Not knowing, not even thinking about what could possibly happen, because my body had nothing but water for the last 32 days. Eating as much of that, tasting that broth, it didn't dawn on me. Like, if I had thought about it, like if I had really thought about it, I probably would not have done it. But I didn't think about it. I just did it, So, and then after I tasted, I could have just had one teaspoon of it taste and gone about my business. But I didn't do that. The taste got good to me. It's like people, they bent in the ways of wrong, and they may not, their intent is may not to do it. Just like people who try crack cocaine. Like, inwardly, trying crack cocaine is wrong. But for some reason, you have a lapse of sanity for some reason. Maybe you're extremely tired of something and you got to feel it's going to keep you up, bro. It's going to keep you up, and you go ahead, you take that hit. Woo, you realize it keep you up. Yeah, did it get good to you? Then you go back tired, go back to that. Your intent wasn't to become strung out on crack. You was just trying to stay woke. I mean, there were other options. You could have stopped and got a 5-hour power or something, or go get a no-dose, something that's less addictive, but you decided that was the only thing that was there, So we also have to train ourselves in ways to make sure that we don't get to the place where we're starving and there's not an option for us. Just like people who are trying to fast or go on a diet. Like if you're going on a diet, say I'm just going to eat, I'm just going to eat fresh fruits and vegetables. But if you don't prepare little snacks for you throughout the day, and you got to go to work or something, and you working in a place, and people normally don't bring donuts and cookies and stuff to work till you decide you going to fast. You ain't tell nobody you was fasting or going to change this, but everybody, we're ordering pizza today, and you forgot your snacks at home. You didn't prepare yourself for a situation. You didn't foresee that situation possibly happening to you, and you hungry. And ain't nobody bring no fruit or no snack trays, no ranch to dip it in. All they got is the pizza. They got wings and stuff. They done bought sodas. They got cakes. They got donuts. They got cookies. And all of them is your favorite. They done bought pepperoni pizza, double pepperoni, double cheese, the chocolate chip cookies, fresh baked out the oven, because their grandmother said, baby, let me know what time so they can be hot, fresh and ready for the people. Everything nice, and all the smells are mingling together, and you didn't prepare yourself. You didn't foresee this coming. So now you just slipped up and it got good to you, and you just and now you feel like crap. And the same thing, it's the same exact principle. You continue to walk in the ways of the Father. You didn't prepare yourself to step over these obstacles when they came. So you had to know ahead of time you're going to run into it, what you're going to do when you run into it. If you think ahead of time, you're prepared and you have something ready when it comes. So it strengthens you a little bit more to do what's right. So it's the same exact principle. And I understood that as I continued to read it over and over. And I saw how they kept falling and walking in the ways of their Father. He would say, nope, you ain't get it right. Let's go. Next king. All right, let's go. You walk in my commands. I'll make sure your kingdom is sure. Everybody be blessed. You live in peace. Only a handful of kings did it. We had King Asa. We got King Josiah. We got King David. Although they made they had small little character flaws, their heart was to do what's right, and we saw it. So that's all I'm saying. You got to make sure, like if you're already bent in the ways of evil, you have to purposely set things out for you and purposely make the right choices. Every time that's going to take you, that's going to distance you between sin. And the more you practice doing what's right, it becomes easier. Now you've carved out a new path of doing what's righteous, and now what comes from you is good seed, and you can reproduce righteousness. It's a system you set in place, because now as your children grow up and you already walking in righteousness, that's what your children see, because that's what you model. And so what you see is what you do. That's like that saying, what is it? Do what I do and not what I say. But if you begin to walk in the ways of righteousness, what you say and what you do lines up, and you just you reproduce righteousness, But it's still a choice for everybody. Your children can choose to walk in the ways of righteousness, or they can completely turn away. Just like you have righteous kings, and you have their sons that go and totally do the opposite, and they decide, I ain't doing that, I'm gonna do this because this is good and this is fast, and I'm gonna go this route, and it's nothing but destruction at the end of their path and along their path, and other people are taken down. That's why Yahuah said, and this king has called the entire nation of Israel to sin. So when you have wicked leaders, they reproduce all that, and you got corrupt systems going all the way down and all the way through, and you cause the people to sin. And when you have a righteous king, you set up righteous things and you do what's right, and the people rejoice because the people are treated fairly, and they begin to reproduce righteousness. Now, you still have people that's going to do what they want to do, but it's still a choice. But when they have a good model to look at and something that they can follow, they're more prone to do what's right. And now it becomes the norm to do what's right, and it becomes out of character to go against what's right, because now you got all these people that's doing what's right, and now you feel like the oddball out. Now you got to hide and do your sin and stuff because you're going against what's right, and everybody gonna see, somebody gonna point it out. That's why people hide their sins. So, all right. Okay, where did I stop at? Verse 1. Second Kings chapter 1. Then Moab rebelled against Israel after the death of Ahab, and Ahaziah fell down through the lattice in his upper chamber that was in Samaria, and was sick. And he sent messengers and said unto them, Go inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron, whether I shall recover of this disease. He should have inquired of Yahuah. But the angel of Yahuah said unto Elijah the Tishbite, Arise, go up to meet the messengers of the king of Samaria, and say unto them, Is it not because there is not a God in Israel that ye go to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron? Now therefore thus saith Yahuah, Thou shalt not come down from the bed which thou art going up, but shalt surely die. And Elijah departed. And when the messengers turned back unto him, he said unto them, Why are ye now turned back? And they said unto him, There came a man up to meet us, and said unto us, Go up, return unto the king that sent you, and say to him, Thus saith Yahuah, Is it not because there is not a God in Israel that thou sendest to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron? Therefore thou shalt not come down from the bed on which thou art going up, but thou shalt surely die. And he said unto them, What manner of man was he that came up to meet you and told you these words? And they answered him, He was a hairy man, and girt with a girdle of leather about his loins. And he said, It is Elijah the Tishbite. Then the king sent unto him a captain of 50 with his 50, and he went up to him, and behold, he sat atop of a hill. And he spake unto him, Thou man of God, the king hath said, Come down. And Elijah answered and said unto the captain of 50, If I be a man of God, then let fire come down, from heaven, and consume him and his 50. Again, also he went unto him another captain of 50 with his 50, and he answered and said unto him, O man of God, thus hath the king said, Come down quickly. And Elijah answered and said unto them, If I be a man of God, let fire come down from heaven and consume thee and thy 50. And the fire of God came down from heaven and consumed him and his 50. And he sent again a captain. Not like, listen, king, you done sent 100 men out here. 102 men, a captain, and 50 of his men. They done all been consumed by this fire from what this prophet is saying out his mouth. What did you tell them? And both of them wouldn't say that. No, we need a different message, king. See, like, I'm paying attention to the trend. Like, y'all not getting it, are you? It's not clicking. Again, and Elijah answered and said unto them, if I be a man of God, let fire come down from heaven and consume thee and thy 50. And the fire of God came down from heaven and consumed him and his 50. And he sent again a captain of the third 50 with his 50, and the third captain of the 50 went up and came and fell. Thank you. Somebody had some good sense. The third captain and fell on his knees before Elijah and besought him and said unto him, O man of God, I pray thee, let my life and the life of these 50 thy servants be precious in thy sight. Behold, there came fire down from heaven and burned up the two captains of the former 50s with their 50s. Therefore let my life now be precious in thy sight. And the angel of Yahuah said unto Elijah, go down with him, be not afraid of him. And he arose and went down with him unto the king. And he said unto him, thus saith Yahuah, for as much as thou hast sent messengers to inquire of Beelzebub, the god of Ekron, is it not because there is no God in Israel to inquire of his word? Therefore thou shalt not come down off of that bed which thou art going up, but thou shalt surely die. So he died according to the word of Yahuah, which Elijah had spoken. And Jehoram reigned in his stead in the 2nd year of Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, because he had no son. Now the rest of the acts of Ahaziah, which he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Israel? Last chapter for the day, y'all. 2 Kings chapter 2. I love the book of Kings, y'all. And it came to pass, when Yahuah would take Elijah up into heaven by a whirlwind, that Elijah went with Elisha from Gilgal. And Elijah said unto Elisha, tarry here, I pray thee, for Yahuah hath sent me to Bethel. And Elisha said unto him, as Yahuah liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. So they went down to Bethel. And the sons of the prophets that were at Bethel came forth to Elisha and said unto him, knowest thou that Yahuah will take away thy master from thy head today? When I read this, last time I read this was the day that my grandmother died. It just hit me. And yeah, okay. And the sons of the prophets that were at Jericho came to Elisha and said unto him, knowest thou that Yahuah will take thy master from thy head today? And he answered, yea, I know it. Hold ye your peace. And Elijah said unto him, tarry, I pray thee, here, for Yahuah hath sent me to Jordan. And he said, as Yahuah liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. And they two went on. And 50 men of the sons of the prophets went and stood to view afar off, and they too stood by Jordan. And Elijah took his mantle and wrapped it together and smote the waters, and they were divided hither and thither, so that they too went over on dry ground. And it came to pass, when they were going over, that Elijah said unto Elisha, ask what I shall do for thee before I be taken away from thee. And Elisha said, I pray thee, let a double portion of thy spirit be upon me. And he said, thou hast asked a hard thing. Nevertheless, if thou see me when I am taken from thee, it shall be so unto thee. But if not, it shall not be so. And it came to pass, as they still went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. And Elisha saw it, and he cried, my father, the chariot of Israel, and the horsemen thereof. And he saw him no more. And he took hold on his clothes, and he rent them in 2 pieces. He took up also the mantle of Elijah that fell from him, and went back and stood by the bank of Jordan. And he took the mantle of Elijah that fell from him, and smote the waters, and said, where is the Lord God of Elijah? And he also had smitten the waters, and they parted hither and thither, and Elisha went over. And the sons of the prophets which were to view at Jericho saw him, and they said, the spirit of Elijah doth rest on Elisha. And they came to meet him, and bowed themselves to the ground before him. And they said unto him, behold, now there be with thy servants 50 strong men. Let them go, we pray thee, and seek thy master, lest peradventure the spirit of Yahuah have taken him up, and cast him upon some mountain or into some valley. And he said, ye shall not sin. And when they urged him till he was ashamed, he said, Send. Then sent therefore 50 men, and they sought 3 days, but found him not. And when they came again to him, for he had tarried at Jericho, he said unto them, Did I not say unto you, Go not? And the men of the city said unto Elisha, Behold, I pray thee, the situation of this city is pleasant, as my Lord seeth, but the water is not, and the ground is barren. And he said, Bring me a new cruse, and put salt therein. And they brought it to him, and he went forth unto the spring of the water, and cast the salt therein, and said, Thus saith Yahuah, I have healed these waters, and there shall not be from thence any more death or barren land. So the waters were healed unto this day, according to the saying of Elisha, which he spake. And he went up from thence unto Bethel, and as he was going up by the way, there came forth little children out of the city, and mocked him, and said unto him, Go up, thou bald head, go up, thou bald head. And he turned back and looked on them, and cursed them in the name of Yahuah. And there came forth 2 she-bears out of the woods, and tear 42 children of them. And he went from thence to Mount Carmel, and from thence he returned to Samaria. And that, my beautiful people, is our reading for today. That was 1 Kings chapter 22, which is the last chapter of 1 Kings, and then we started 2 Kings chapter 1 and chapter 2. It is Monday. March the 23rd, 2020, day 104. I hope you guys enjoyed the reading. If you missed it, you can always hit replay or play after I post the video. Go back and read it in your spare time. I put on the Bible app and just listen to it, let it play. I like to do that throughout the day a lot of times. That's how I consume a lot of scripture. Like throughout my day, if I'm not listening to music, worship music or something like that, or catching up on some news or something, the Bible is playing in my ear a lot. Sometimes I let it play at night or whatever. But I don't know, I just retain a lot of it, because I've been doing it for so long, but that's a good way if you don't have the time to get in there and sit. And some people just don't like to sit and read. You can always use the tools, work smarter, not harder, because I'm doing like a lot of stuff all the time. So I thank y'all for headphones and stuff, and even devices that can play it out loud, so I can feed my spirit continually while I'm doing other things. And sometimes I may be focusing and haven't heard it, but some things that catch my attention and I'll tune in, and going back to working or whatever. But yeah, that's just, I don't know. But I love to read though, and I've just been reading the Bible since I was little because I was bent in that direction, so I decided to continue walking in that direction. It's been a source of stability for my entire life. It really has been a complete source of stability all my life, so with that being said, y'all, I love you. I didn't want to close this. I done made it my habit now to do the blessing out of here. All right, y'all, so with that being said, may Yahuah bless us and keep us. May Yahuah make his face to shine upon us and be gracious unto us. Yahuah lift up his countenance upon us and give us his peace. And the next verse said, And they shall put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. This is how Yahuah told the priest or Aaron to bless his people. He said, This is how you put my name on them. And by doing this, I myself will bless them. That's found in Numbers chapter 6, verses 22 through 27. All right, y'all. Remember, Passover is coming up. You can read about that in Leviticus chapter 23. That's the go-to chapter for all Yahuah's feasts. These are Yahuah's feasts that he's commanded us to keep forever. He said forever, perpetually, in all your generations. That means they never stop their memorial feasts in which to practice them, so it helps us remember. It's like telling stories to our children. We learn best by stories and reenacting things and doing it. It helps to deep seek the principles within our souls, y'all. So with that being said, I love y'all, and I'll see you in the morning. Peace.